That was really nice. I'm wondering if that's a problem actually. I think that he buys them anyway. Hey guys, Cesar here with the third part of our Catan diagram, which is also the final part. Today's video will be a shorter one. It will be not so impressive in terms of construction, but I will show you the value that registers can add to a diagram, how they can influence its flow, how they can influence its direction. And I'm also going to implement the actual purpose of this diagram, which is racking up those victory points, reaching 10, and finishing the game when we reach 10, checking out how much time it takes us to reach those 10 points, and maybe run it a few times at the end, see how balancing works, you know, that kind of stuff. So let's get on with it. Where we left last time, we had resources implemented, we had buildings, we had how those buildings affect resource flow, how the resources then in return construct more buildings which give more resources, and how they influence each other. This part will be a bit shorter, but as I said, the most important in my opinion. I'm gonna start with the easier part, which is victory points. So we're gonna have the victory points stored in a register where we're gonna check them. I'm gonna remind you the way they are calculated. So for one settlement you get 1 victory point. For a city you get 2 victory points, which roughly translates to 1 because you actually lose a settlement in the process. And for a victory point card you gain 1 victory point. Because of the way we have adjusted settlements and cities to influence each other, we can safely put cities and multiply it by 2 because it's gonna calculate it correctly. Let me just color these states real quick so I don't get confused. And after I do that, let's calculate the victory points. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but if I have, I'm just going to repeat myself here. If you want to name a register and you want that name to not be the formula, so you want this to be victory points, and normally it would calculate victory points, but if you just want to name it, you can put the name, then put the colon, and then type your formula, and the register will only look at the formula that's beyond the colon. So the formula here will be pretty simple: settlements plus cities times 2. Let's make that small b, and add the victory point cards as well. So these are the victory points. Pretty simple stuff. I'm also gonna add the end condition here. Normally you would think that an equal to 10 should be the case here, but I fear of a scenario, unlikely scenario, but I fear of a scenario where the player is at 9 points and gets 2 points in a single turn. Maybe he stacks up resources and buys a settlement and a victory point card at the same turn, and he just jumps straight to 11. So that condition is never fulfilled, so then the execution would end when the number of steps reaches its maximum, which is set by you. So in order to avoid that, I'm going to make it just greater than 9. This way we could handle all unexpected and unlikely scenarios. Sorry, I'm going to name this as well, just for a beautiful aspect. Congrats, you finished. And maybe color those 3 in a pattern. Not really important. So this is the end condition. This is where we stop our execution. We do have one final register that we need to add, because let me hit play. No, let me play would be too slow. I don't want to adjust these rates again. Let me just do a quick run so you can see what happens here. So I ran my maximum number of steps, which means I didn't finish the game. I only reached 6 points. Why is that? Because victory cards are, let's say, unreliable. You can't count on them to be there. You can't count on them to show up very often. As you see, he stacked a whole lot of wheat. He didn't have enough ore. He didn't have enough bricks. He didn't even have sheep. Why does that happen? Because every time a road is available for purchase, the player will buy the road. Thus, he never ever has resources for a settlement. He does have resources for cities, and he does have resources for development cars, because those resources are not needed by roads, but the road resources are needed by settlements. That's why he can never buy settlements. This city that was made of one of the pre-existing settlements, and the player can, if would have been, let's say, an ideal scenario for him, he would have gotten 2 cities, 0 settlements, and 5 victory point cards, which would amount to 9 points, still not enough to finish the game. And as you can see, he has a lot of useless roads that he doesn't need. So we have to, I don't want to say teach him, let's say restrict him to build in the correct way. So how I'm going to restrict him is I'm going to impose that he builds in the perfect way. I'm going to assume that he has space to build whenever he needs. He's not blocked by other players. He's not blocked by the edge of the map. He always has the ideal conditions to build. And I'm going to assume that he wants to build the most efficiently to win. So minimum number of roads to settlements ratio. So that's why I have to talk about those settlements and roads. I have this picture here with the beginning of a game. So this is after you placed your initial settlements and roads. We're going to be watching at the white player here. As you can see, 2 settlements and 2 roads. So should he want to build another settlement, he can build a road here and then build a settlement. Should he want to build another one, he can build this road and build a settlement here, let's say. So we would have for 3 roads 3 settlements, for 4 roads 4 settlements. For the next ones, he would need 2 of those roads. So he would need 6 roads for 5, 8 roads for 6, and so on and so forth. I'm just gonna, in order for us to be easier to track, I'm just gonna start with the initial one, 2 for 2, 3 for 3. So this is just the number of roads that's needed for the next settlement. 6 for 5, 8 for 6, 10 for 7, and so on. And I'm gonna leave this here, so we are reminded what the objective is. We will be doing this calculation using my favorite node, the register. We will be needing resources from 3 of these, not only settlements but city as well. But it's not a major inconvenience, as cities don't occupy new spaces on the map, they only replace settlements, so the number of roads shouldn't increase according to built cities. However, the settlements do decrease, and they don't actually just lose their space, they just transform. So instead of treating the roads versus settlements dilemma, we will be treating the roads versus settlements plus cities dilemma. But I'm just gonna call them settlements because it's easier for me. Hopefully we all know what I'm talking about. And just color this real quick so I don't get confused, because it has happened before and I'd hate to start this again. So we have those 3 resources. The dilemma will be roads versus settlements plus cities. We're going to be handling 2 scenarios here, but first I want to talk about what the register is going to do. In these cases where you have a sort of an if-else scenario, you want to either enable the road converter or the settlement converter, it's best to choose functions that let's say have a binary result, or if not binary, at least a result that's the type of 1, 0 or -1, and limit the cases by those results. So for instance, I'm just gonna drag the results right now, even though we haven't even made a formula yet, but so you know what we are looking for. So the results of this formula are going to be either 0 or 1. So we're going to enable the purchase of roads when it's 0, and we're going to enable the purchase of settlements when it's larger than 0 or 1. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so there are two scenarios that we have to treat. We have to treat the scenarios before the player has 4 settlements. I mean, up to the point where he has 4 settlements, when he can build a new settlement as soon as he has more roads than settlements. So you make a new road, you make a new settlement. And we have to treat the scenario when he has 4 settlements and more, where in order to make a new settlement he would need to build 2 roads. The scenario will be treated, as you can see here, we have to look at the difference. The difference increments each time from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3. So that's what we'll be paying attention to, that difference that increments by 1 each step between the number of roads and the number of settlements. I want to do the first part because it's the simpler part, which is actually checking if settlements plus cities are less than 4. So we don't have those 4 settlements yet, and we're going to multiply it with, are there more roads than cities and settlements? Wait, we don't need parentheses for this. B plus C. So are there more roads than, let's show it here so you can see it better. Maybe up the font a bit. There we go. So this checks, do we have fewer settlements and cities than 4, and do we have more roads than settlements and cities together? I'm multiplying them because this acts as a logical AND, as these results can only be 0 or 1, and I want them both to be true for me to be able to build a settlement. Should one of them be 0, the result would be 0, so I would have to build a road. So this acts as a logical AND. If you want a logical OR, you're just gonna add them instead of multiplying them, which is actually what I'm gonna do next. Because now we need to implement the second part, which is when we have 4 or more. So we're gonna start with checking that. Do we have 4 or more cities and settlements? We're gonna do this larger and larger than 3, larger B plus C than 3. So is there some larger than 3? And again, with a logical AND, now we're going to have to implement that that resource part. And this is how we're going to do it. We're going to check if, I'm just going to type it first, then I'm going to show you a quick example of how it works. Because it's easier for me than doing the talking at the same time. Is it good? This we compare to 0. No, don't. No, it looks fine this way. Okay. So this part. As you can see, we want the incrementation to start from 1, and that incrementation should grow by 1 at each step. The incrementation will grow by 1 at each step. So the first time this will be activated is when B plus C will be 4. So B plus C will be 4, we will be multiplying them by 8, by 2, I'm sorry, and it will result in 8. We will subtract 3, which will become a 5. So the number of roads should be larger than 5. Correct? Yes. So it should be 6. So we have the 6-5 ratio. Okay, then let's say we build, then it's allowed to build a settlement. So we build another settlement. This sum becomes 5. B plus C becomes 5. 2 times 5 becomes 10. 10 minus 3 becomes 7. So the number of roads needs to be larger than 7, which is why we have the ratio here. 8 for 6. We build another one. This one becomes 12. B plus C. 2 times B plus C becomes 12. Minus 3 becomes 9. So we need a larger number of roads than 9. When we have 10, we can build a 7th settlement, and so on and so forth. So for this to be true and be able to build a settlement, it thoroughly respects the steps that we have here. So as you can see, also because we can add them. There's no danger of ever having a result of 2 here, because the first condition here and the first condition here exclude each other. So it's either less than 4 or 4 or more. So they will never be both with a result of 1. So this is how it's treated. Now this will ensure that we build roads and settlements in the most efficient way. We should actually run it and see how it goes. I'm gonna spare you all the misery of watching it go slowly, so I'm just gonna speed it up a bit and see how we get those resources. So we have a road, now we can build settlements. As soon as we get a brick, there we go, we built a settlement. Now we can build roads again, now we can build settlement again. Now we would need 6 roads normally because it's the 4 and 4. There we go, we have 5, not enough yet, 6, now we can build settlements. So the formula actually acts as expected. As you can see, we get a surplus of wood. That's because of the way that I implemented the wood at the start, giving it 2 resources here. So it's normal that it's gonna get the most. And we've actually reached 10 victory points. We've converted 2 of our settlements into cities, we've built 4 new settlements, and we've gained 2 victory point cards. And we've got those 10 victory points in only 56 steps, which is quite nice, I guess. So, by the way, this is how the final result will be. In the original diagram that I made, I actually made another register here to check for the settlements being larger than 0 in order for a city to be allowed to be built, but I just resolved that issue with a simple connection here. So I'm not going to be doing that register anymore. We can focus now a bit on execution. I don't know if the plot is really relevant. I think you may be interested, I don't know what you would want to plot. I think you'd want to plot either these 5, which I'm not gonna do right now. These ones don't really make sense because you spend them as well. So maybe you can see these ones, and yeah, that's actually a good idea. So let's place them in order and see, well, I spent on those resources. How fast did I finish the game? Let me just change the steps limit because maybe it takes a bit longer to finish. So let's do a quick run. God, I wish this one would look. Just give me a second here. Might be a bit of a. Okay, now we see them nice. That's a little trick I learned. So it finished in 61 steps. And what did I heavily invest in? I heavily invested in wheat and ore, actually. And by heavily investing in these 2, I was able to finish the game in 61 steps. Let's try another run. Because it's random, you're probably gonna invest in different resources. What did I do here? Wood, or it's pretty even except for sheep. I really didn't care about sheep now. Invested pretty heavily in the others. And there we go, 73 steps. So the previous tactic was a bit better, even though it is chance based. I mean, you're just increasing your chances. It would have been better to heavily invest in the wheat and the ore, which is what I actually predicted when I created those chances. Let's do another one. This is, oh, this is a long one. Whoa, he really got a lot of settlements here. Wow, that was crazy. He got a lot. That was really nice. I'm wondering if that's a problem actually. I think that he buys them anyway. Let me think a bit. Yeah, I think what happened here, and it's good that we notice it. As you can see, every time we can notice something new, that stops us. I think what happens is that this one pulls resources but doesn't convert them because he doesn't have space for the 5. But he pulls them anyway and triggers this disconnection. So we're gonna have to limit it. But we can't just limit it like this. We can't just drag this connection and limit it to, normally you'd condition this as lower than 5. This is active while this is lower than 5, but then it would look, it would check if only one of these conditions is true. So if any one of these conditions is true, it would function, and that is not what we want. So if you want to treat them together, we're actually going to have to build a register. You guessed it. So we're gonna have to make a register for this one. We shouldn't let the player build unless those two are true. So it's gonna be something like, again with an AND condition. It's gonna be something like smaller a6, no, a5. Yeah, it's only allowed when it's you don't have 5 yet, times b can only be 0 or 1. Yeah, so we're just gonna do times b, because if it's 0, this is gonna be 0 as well. And this condition, put it here, larger than 0. So this will cancel it. I think we should we be doing the same for cities? Let's just be safe. I'm not really sure if we should, but let's just be safe. Do we need this register? No, we don't. We can just go straight from it. Ah, yeah, we need, because we have the settlement part here. Yeah, we do need the register. Okay, this one drags here. Let me straighten it out. This one drags here. Let's just give it a settlements color, because now it's changed alliances. This one drags here as well. This one will be an A. Let me move this a bit. Yeah, sure, why not? This one will be B. And here we will check the settlements was if it's larger than 0, so larger A0. And the cities we will check smaller B4, because we need less than 4. And we won't let the drain activate and trigger those larger than 0. Fine, so now it should work as intended. We shouldn't have this many results. Let's try quick running again a few times. I'm actually going to show you a multiple run as well. There we go, a bit more balanced resources. 3 settlements, 3 cities, we got victory points, we won. I actually want to show you multiple run as well. Let me pan out for a bit, maybe a bit more. Multiple runs. Let me stop. I'm gonna do only one batch, so normal 10 batches of 20 runs. You understand what that would mean. Just gonna make, let's make 20. We're gonna do one batch of 20 runs and check out how the graph looks, how it feels. This one was a longer execution. Wow, he got really unlucky on this one with resource generation. But as you see, the other ones ended about 70 steps, 70, 60. This one was really good, 49 steps, really good. This one really unlucky. So you see how the graph highlights here. You see all the values. You can adjust these according to your desire. Maybe see the difference between each execution. With that in mind, I think the diagram is pretty much complete. I'm gonna leave it like so. I'm gonna give you the link in the description. So it turned out pretty okay. We didn't totally simulate the game as it's played in reality, but it does a pretty good job of giving you an idea of how you should prioritize your resources in order to win the game faster. Thank you for watching. I do hope you learned something from this. If you have any suggestions for us, you can find us on our public Slack. You can find us We'll be having a Discord channel soon. You can address your requests there. I'd actually prefer if you gave me requests and I would build something that you would like to see instead of assuming what you guys want to see. And yeah, I'll hope to see you again soon. Thanks again for watching.